All right. Hey, everyone. This is an open door. Last I checked, I still go by the name of Cindy. Um, it is June 9th, Monday, June 9th, and this is the hour that we have entitled Where the Rubber Meets the Road, where we take an idea from A Course in Miracles and we talk about how it can be implemented in our day-to-day life. I didn't open the book at random this week either. I can't even remember what was going on in my world, but I knew immediately at some point, I think I was talking about it last Tuesday, that we were going to be looking at lesson 153 in my defenselessness, my safety lies. So I have a couple of quotes from that lesson, and then I'm going to play a song to me that represents what happens when the switch occurs, when we go from believing and acting and living that limited life to this space of knowing that we are an extension of all there is, right, wrong, or different, you know. So let me read these quotes, then play the song, and then say one or two words. Don't know what they are yet. And then give it to Andrew and then open it up to the group. See, I, I know where the smiles are coming from. Um, so here are the 2 points that light me up. The first is this quote, choice is always made between his strength and your own weakness, seen apart from him. This idea of choice. Where am I going to place my attention? And then towards the end of that lesson, man, it's a long lesson too, isn't it? And this reminds me so much of the work I'm doing with Joel Goldsmith. In time with practice, in time with practice, you will never cease to think of him and hear his loving voice guiding your footsteps into quiet paths. Getting chills as I read this. So I'm going to finish the sentence and then read it again. Since William's here, I'm going to read it for William. Where you will walk in true defenselessness. So let me read that again. And then I'm going to play the song. So in time, practice. You will never cease to think of him and hear his loving voice guiding your footsteps into quiet paths where you will walk in true defenselessness. I'm gonna play the song. Here we go. This song for me is what the world is like when that occurs. Yeah.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Choice is always made between his strength and your own weakness, seen apart from him. In time, with practice, you will never cease to think of him and hear his loving voice guiding your footsteps into quiet paths where you will walk in true defenselessness. Early this morning, I took a really long walk, found a new walking path. And at one point on this walking path, the baby bunnies, there are a lot of baby bunnies. I don't know about in your world, but in my world, there are a lot of baby bunnies and older bunnies, and they were lined up on the path. And I was playing this game. I was listening to the guides and being with the bunnies, and they were letting me get, Richard, you're like closer and closer. Like at what point do they run back into the bush? You know, they ate for as long as they could. And there was just this sense. And then I had one wonderful dyad. And then in the second dyad, and then I hosted a dyad a half hour after that. And in this second dyad, at some point, it dropped, and I got this sense that Cindy, apart from God or source, whatever you want to call it, could never have orchestrated this moment, right? Um, how did I get there? Like, it was like the dyad process, us being together, none of that came from Cindy's expectations or Cindy's desires or her knowing that, you're a little kid and someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be in XYZ. None of what was in that moment could have come from what Cindy was ever taught, right? So, and then I sunk deeper and I was like, well, it came from this asking, right? I knew that there was something other than the life I was experiencing. And so this burning desire to know the truth arose. So it came because Cindy asked, but then it dropped lower, going, where did the asking come from? Where did the knowing that there was something else? And it was in that space that there was a recognition of that kind of holiness of being protected and held. And what was interesting, so that's the bigger picture. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I was in this peaceful space of being with the red-winged blackbird and all that other stuff, but at the same time, in the 30-40 minutes between the two dyads, I had um, at least 3 opportunities to step into drama. It's crazy. Like, it was bam, bam, bam. Either Cindy, apart from source again, seeing somebody else that needed to be corrected. That was the first thing that happened. And I sat and held it, and the guidance was not to say a word, and I didn't. And then there was a call, and there was another opportunity to get involved in a story and a drama and insert Cindy's position. And sitting in his strength, wouldn't have even called it that way. I was just in this place. Is there anything for me to say? And there was nothing, and it didn't come out. But there's a tension building because then again, talking to mom, that's the big one, and sharing, and there's more drama with mom and dad and sister, and I'm sitting, and that's still churning. But mostly the guidance is to know that nothing is personal, and that there was no doubt that this all felt like opportunities to practice. Where is the guidance coming from? And how do I know? I've been spending time with Corey in our Thursday conversation. How do you know whether or not I'm listening to use this word, his strength or my own weakness apart from him? And before I hand it over to Andrew, and Andrew doesn't come on Thursdays, what Corey said, I've been sitting with it. He says, you know, um, because there's a spaciousness, and because it no longer feels like a choice. It feels like you're receiving direction. You're receiving. You're not choosing. And somehow I got that. Somehow that's what it feels like. This knowing, when you're resting in the understanding that me apart from him can't exist. Right. And so trying to decide how to live my best life without resting and knowing that there's this larger power that's willing to direct the entire flow, um, is the key, you know. And the last thing is from the guides again. The guides over and over and over say that the only problem that humans have is a denial of the divine, which to me is this teaching as well. Like, where am I saying that there's a me apart from God that has to figure out what to do now? And when that comes up, I've been standing still as the self, and that sound that has Helen's accent, and saying, no, it can't be true. There is no Cindy. that has to do this alone, ever. And there is always guidance that comes from that still space. So that's how this is working on me right now. And with that, I hand it over to Andrew and then to the group.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in this meeting. Yeah, when it comes to making choices in worldly matters, I think the Course says that if you feel joy, you'll know it's a divine choice or a guided choice, something the Holy Spirit pushes you towards or guides you towards. Now, what is joy? Peace is joy. Peace and joy are synonymous. It's hard for the ego to understand what joy really is, but the Course does say peace. So if you feel peace after you choose, I think that's a good indicator you're on the right course. But now, as far as this lesson goes, it's all about defenselessness, and in defenselessness is where my safety lies. Okay. Perhaps you will recall the text maintains that choice is always made between Christ's strength and your own weakness, seen apart from him. Well, you already said it, but the key here is seen apart from him, because we are not apart from him, but we think we are. Our egos think we are, at the very least. And we see everything as separate and separate from us. That beautiful song you played, is a good hint towards the reality. But yeah, seeing ourselves as separate from everything else is the main problem. But we made this world that we perceive, and there are parts of it that we love. That's the thing. There's some beauty in the world, but because we are not one, or don't perceive ourselves as one, everything has to have a contrast. If you see something beautiful, that means the opposite must also exist. Same thing with pleasure and pain. That's the world of cause and effect. And even though it's not real, it seems very real because we made it, and we love it because we made it. And that's our challenge. Thank you. That's what I got out of this. Thank you very much. Love you all.
I love us all too. Thank you, Andrew. I wonder if Richard knows I'm about to call on him, even though his hand's not up.
Morning, everyone. Great share, Andrew. I appreciate it. What came to mind for me was trust. I've been focusing on trust lately because if I really want to live a life of defenselessness, I have to trust that even though I know the Course is true, do I trust it? If I do what the Course asks me to do, will I in fact have the happiness the Course talks about? So I think this lesson was great because it also reminds in another paragraph of the lesson that happiness is the result of defenselessness. And I don't know for the rest of you, but for me, my journey has been, I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. If I do what the Course teaches me, I'll be at peace. Well, that's not that's not the right way I've learned to approach it. I have to be willing more and more every day to surrender to separate self. And the course is about surrendering to separate self. And for me, that's a long time journey. The more I surrender to separate self, I do it in little pieces. I give up this, I give up that. I surrender this to spirit. And the more I do that, the happier I am. The more love, peace, and joy I experience day to day. So the result is the peace, love, and joy I want to happen, but not by following, doing the lessons, for example, every day and making sure I do everything. It's like when I grew up, I was taught a religion that said if you followed the rules of the church, you would be happy. Well, I followed the rules of the church. I wasn't happy. So trusting again, and another definition of God, which the Course represents, getting back that trust is a journey for me. So I focus on trust now in order to make the decision moment to moment to be defenseless and to trust that in being the defenseless and surrendering to separate self to spirit, I will lead a guided life by my higher self that will result in peace, love, and joy. And I won't feel guilty because I have peace, love, and joy, because there are some right here believe that they have peace, love, and joy in their life, they must be choosing ego. I no longer believe that. I believe that our experience in the dream can be one of peace, love, and joy by surrendering to separate self and then following the guidance that comes from that. And that seems to be working for me. So I love you all, and thanks for letting me share.
Libby,
Hi, hey everybody. Um, this lesson really speaks to me and has proven to be important. I remember many years ago saying to a friend, recognizing that my body was always in defense mode. And I remember telling her, I feel like I'm in defense mode all the time. And it's been wonderful, a wonderful experience to, number one, recognize the defensive, stature of my body, to gradually letting go and recognizing there's nothing for me to defend against. And this lesson just really speaks to me in a big way because of the defensiveness I realized that I was feeling the majority of my life. And so I'm so appreciative for this lesson and for the willingness to let go and trust, as Richard was talking about. Trust has become a big, I never thought I would have this relationship with a higher source, just completely trusting, and to be, really willing to go with everything to that source. I mean, seriously, a minute ago, I was picking out what I was going to wear, and I was like, so what would you like to wear today? You know? And, but it keeps that relationship open, you know, and trusting that I'm not going to look like a total slob when I leave my niece's house today to meet them for lunch. So, I mean, that's being kind of cutesy or whatever, but it, you know, that helps me really bring the trust in and bring the relationship into everything so that it's always current. And I'm grateful for the moments that I catch myself when I'm out of trust. And I'm grateful for the tools that I'm learning here, and you know, especially the prayer, please heal my fear-based thoughts regarding blah 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 dot dot dot. So I really just, oh, it was just such a relief reading this lesson. And thank you all for your shares, and just really love being here with y'all today.
Thank you, Libby. So, William, what's it like to be you right now?
Well, can I catch my breath? Wow, I don't know if I even want to or need to say anything, but something in me says, okay, sharing my truth, sharing what's appearing now, and what I'm coming up with, I'm having this delightful image show with my father. And it's my earth father. He died over 20 years ago. I just am living the life with my father. It's almost like he is me, I am he, because his whole life was about, and the word is faith. It was faith. And he had it as a teenager in the story where witnessing his father and mother testifying their love at church, he said, well, you know, all it takes is a little faith. And that's what grew and grew his whole life. His life was faith, his love for his family, and his career as a mathematician. I tell you, he walked holding hands with whatever his faith was, Jesus, God, stories of the Bible. Every time, whether it was getting ready to eat, going to the bathroom, before he'd leave the bathroom, he'd bow in prayer. Whether he'd go off in the car, come back, he'd stop, let's have a word of prayer. Or he'd just do it because he'd be silent. He just was constantly holding the hand of God. That's what it appeared to. Just, it's like he always had his hand in whatever it was. And he was a very disciplined, and he'd do his life work and treat people with respect and all. But he always, and if there's an opening, he would share his faith with whoever. So I just, it's his, it's the subtraction, not following what my senses tell me is so exciting, not following my thoughts that are so creative and just so beautiful at times, or miserable. But it's I can turn my attention away from, and focus on truth, faith. Over 3 years ago, I had one of my cousins tell me, I asked him about his religious feeling. He says at 10 years of age, I found Jesus loved me. This I know, the Bible tells me so. And he said it in such a quick way. Jesus loved me. This I know, Bible tells me so. That was his faith. And that's what he's lived. And I think it's that kind of staff inside. And I felt it, but my attention has wandered and wandered and wandered. You know, the prodigal son. And it's just turning that attention away, denying what I'm so accustomed to following. Just no, the truth, the truth, the truth. Now, whatever that comes for me or you, and it is that commitment, and that's what I'm living out. It's like I get more from my father every day than I ever got. The way he lived his life, the way I'm living mine, at least more and more often. And it takes groups like this where and then I go silent. I got nothing to say. I'm here now. That's all that's my commitment now. And talked with my wife this morning. It's like I had, in my joy at the moment, I had to share this with her, that I had a thought, but I pushed the thought away. It's just a thought, but I noticed it. And that's in the moment, being aware of that awareness. Be aware, I noticed that, turn away. I noticed that, made sense, but turning to everything is holy, it is a miracle. Yes. So that's
You,
what I had to say this morning. Thank you.
you enjoyed the song, did you, William?
I enjoyed the song. I did. Now, I didn't have my father singing because he couldn't sing, but it didn't matter. In church, he would sing. And as children, my two sisters and I would get embarrassed because we noticed that people would look around. Somebody's off key. It was my father, but he didn't care. He didn't care. He was in the house of the Lord. His faith, he was going to sing. Every morning we got up in Kentucky. It was cold. The furnace that goes to back in the 30s and 40s when the furnace goes through the house. He would sing, "Onward, Christian soldiers." Terrible voice, but he'd wake all of us up because his voice would go up through the house. So from morning to night, it was always his faith. And here I am, this prodigal, to get suffer whatever I did all my life, most all my life. But now it's like it's so nice because he's pointed the way over and over and over, as all of you do too. And just thank you. I get to listen now.
Thank you for choosing to share. Yeah. The word that came up while I was listening to you was discipline, and this lesson to me speaks of discipline as well. Not from a UMass, not from, Richard's old decades in the armed services kind of don't, but really like Course in Miracles is mind training. Mind training takes practice and discipline, and really paying attention to where we're placing our attention over and over and over and over and over again as part of this work. if Andrew thinks that I didn't notice his hand was up and then it went down again, it's, then he hasn't been hanging around in this space very long.
I knew, Cindy. That's why I lowered it. Anyway, I love everyone's share. And while I was listening to you all, it got me thinking, how do we live in the world and depend on defenselessness? Well, the Course teaches us that we're not our bodies, we're spirit, but it also says bodies can be hurt and even killed. So the way it seems to me to function as a normal human and still practice defenselessness is just to not be attached to what happens. Go on with your living and doing the best you can, but not be attached when things don't go the way you think they should. Give up attachment to the results. That was the only comment that I wanted to pass on. Thank you.
Thank you. Libby and I are currently involved in an MPP course at Awakening Together called True Discernment. I don't know where she is in this week. But one of the things that Regina is teaching very clearly now, this idea of I need do nothing. She's looking at it doesn't mean the body doesn't do nothing. It means that from a intellectual standpoint, we give what is going on in the world no meaning. It's meaningless. The day-to-day activities of that which is temporary ultimately is meaningless. It's always the love and the intention that's behind it. And that's what came up for me as I was listening to you, Andrew. Yeah, thank you. Hey, Barbie.
Hey, well, I'm feeling great today. Everything's going good. But Friday evening, I was in defense mode. I couldn't stop myself. I should have paused, but no. So I attacked. That's all you can do in defense. So that night, it was eating me, and I did my forgiveness for what I've done and everything. It was eating me, and I said to my ego, because he kept on gnawing on, I said, "This is it. I am so sorry, but this has got to stop because you're not going to keep me up awake this time." So I fell asleep. I was okay Saturday. I was going to start an apology tour, but I figured no, but whatever. So then today I read in lesson, it says, salvation can be thought of as a game that happy children play, which brought me back to Sunday because, as Richard says, trust. So Sunday, I totally trust. So trust, I watched the movie Pollyanna.
Sandra's not here.
I know, I wish she would have been here. I hope she rewatches this because I found it on YouTube. And after I watched it, it says, after I seen it, it said 10 years old. I says, by golly, I seen it before, but it didn't dawn on me and everything. And she was having the happiest time and everything. And I was trusting with God, and I did I wanted to do some things, but he led me to other things. And my intention for the day, I said, I want to be present. So I have been being present all this time. And then this morning, it's like both meditations just blew me away. I don't even remember. I couldn't even put words to it. I don't even know if there's such a word as serenely blissful. But my other meditation, I said, absolutely blissful. And now I'm here and I'm having a great old time. I'm in such a joyous mood that I figured nothing could can go wrong, hopefully. But I did have a miracle today because when you were playing Holy Now, I was singing and my husband didn't say, shut your mouth. So he let me shut. Now he says he should have, but now he let, but I'm having a great old time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Barbie. I want to text Sandra as soon as I get off the phone. Barbie, watch Pollyanna. Oh, so fun. Oh. My attention is turning towards you, Monique. And there you go, unmuting. Do you see how that just happened? This is my friend Monique. Does everybody know Monique? She's been in and out of a lot of our stuff, We met with Lisa, I think, right? Maybe, or Teachers of God or something.
Yeah,
Any case, thank you for being here.
thank you. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say when I heard people talking about being happy, the biggest happiness, that the sweetest or that I can experience is when I am happy for no reason. It comes from the heart. It comes from my heart, yeah, which is everybody's heart. And nobody can take it away because I'm happy for no reason. I'm not happy because I have a new things and I can lose it or for no reason. And that happiness fills up the space, fills up my mind. It fills up everything. And it's just I was gonna say it brings me to my knee, but it's freedom. It's like a total freedom to be happy. The freedom to be happy I don't need a reason to be happy. And I wanted to read something from the course that I just saw. And it says, be grateful he has saved you from the self you thought you made to take the place of him and his creation. So it's like the way I see it, I am him because I am his creation. And God doesn't separate his son with himself. It's all one. Like I see it like the ocean with the waves. So the waves belong to the ocean. The waves, you cannot separate the waves from the ocean. But there is all kind of waves. You can have a waves like a small waves, a big one, a one with a lot of brings up, maybe a wave that brings up stuff from the bottom, and you can have a wave that people surf on it, but each wave is unique. It's all it, and they're all unique because they are coming from creation. They are coming from God. Like God doesn't make a copy. He creates new. He always creates what is new. And I am always new. And that's what I like. And that's what makes me smile because I don't have to go back in the past or go in the future. Just in the present moment, I'm always recreated. And it feels very nice. It feels very free, very peaceful, very quiet, and that love comes in itself. Like I don't have to go get it. It just comes. And that's what I like. It's that the peace to be that, the peace to let it come and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Yeah. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
The thought arose that if you want an experience of joy, realizing that you don't know everybody here, I'd like to introduce you to Nadego. Nadego, how you doing in this moment, sweetheart?
Hi,
Hi.
so great to be here. So it's been a little bit challenging, but it's been I always find my peace and my love, and so honestly, that's the best thing ever. And I'm doing the workbook lessons, and I'm loving it. So yeah, it's just yeah, it's just all of it, everything that's happening. It's amazing. But I always can find my peace and my love, and that to me is everything. Um, and I love being here, and it's okay when all this shit happens. It's okay. It can be there, and it's okay. So yeah. So thank you so much, everyone.
I saw you moving around with the walker. That has to feel better, a little bit better than being stuck in the bed or in
Yeah,
the wheelchair, right?
yeah, no. And actually my foot is getting better, and I'm being guided to now, like, I need to lay up, just keep my foot up more and more. So that's just amazing. And I'm doing the I love Ramana, and so I've been doing those teachings, and I'm just falling more in love with Ramana. So that's just my, yeah. So
Well, bless every space you're in, Nadego. Thank you for being here.
thank you. I love being here.
Because it's the mood and I'm in. I'm going to point out that Rick is the only one with his screen on that hasn't spoken.
Good morning, friends. Rick. It's good to be here. You know, I love coming here, and there was so much when you were sharing, Cindy, about and you started that nothing is personal, and it really struck me. And it's not that I've heard it before, but it brought me to the present moment of how I've been, or I'm going to say it's been, because I don't believe that, you know, I'm doing all this chitter chattering in my head and bringing the past constantly into the now. And but I realized that there's this personalness that I'm applying to a lot of stuff that I believe penetrates me, and it keeps me into that uh, the past of situations that have happened. And you know, I like that, you know, when I show up to these meetings, especially this one that you have, there's a presence that happens here that I'm just grateful for, because, you know, life happens, and, you know, without, as you described, the AC, A Course in Miracles is about retraining, you know, retraining the mind and little things like that, because I misidentify a lot with the lower self periodically throughout the days, that I miss stuff like that. It just goes. So it's nice to be reminded. One of the other things that came up, and I believe it was Richard that brought it up, is, do I trust this? You know, and for me is like, do I trust what A Course in Miracles is? at this point, I think I'm just loyal to the process of, getting up and practicing the daily workbook. The lesson that I'm on today is 131, and oh my God, is it beautiful? What a wonderful, it's long, but it's so relevant. It's so pertinent to me, as are most of them. I want to trust that. I want to know that there is another way. And because I know the way that I've lived my life, where it brought me was a dead halt. So it's nice to know that there's a way out of this being, what the mind has really drove me. Where it's driven me to. So it's nice to have something else be at the wheel, I guess, to use the AA stuff. And I'm always new. I love that. Thank you, Monique. So simple, but very profound for me. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Chuck is calling me now. That's interesting. I'll call him back when we're done. Something I've come to recognize in myself, which is so interesting, and I'm waiting for the proper words. I really do invest most of my days and my hours in this work. And it's beautiful. And I've been spending a lot of time with the guides, so the languaging becomes more and more like them, but there's an aspect of self here that is holding on to the belief that I'm something other than the divine. Right? And even as I sit in a more expanded space in the dyads or in these spaces, I still am aware of that aspect of self that is clinging to this idea of me separate, is the way to put it. What I'm coming to recognize in a way that is very, very, very useful is that aspect of self is never going to be other than holding on to this belief in separation. But what's happening is it is being dissolved back into, it's becoming weaker. It is, to use the guides again, being reclaimed in something other. So I no longer attempt to change its mind or wait for it to change. That's not what's happening. From this larger awareness, when I rest there, I am watching it become something other. And it's weak, its control over the Cindy experience is weakening. The other part of it from discipline, which I love, comes from the teachings of Regina for me. She said she has taught me, and she, it's funny because she laughs when she says it too. People keep putting words in my mouth that I don't ever remember saying. That's her as the human, right? But it's her voice in my space that reminds me that in the moment that I've noticed I've gone unconscious, I'm conscious, right? So the moment I've noticed, oh, I just lost the last hour, the last day, the last 10 years, that moment I'm conscious, and that's my choice point, right? That's the moment I can practice this lesson or any lesson that lights you up, is in the moment I've noticed I've been unconscious. The other thing she's taught me, that when I hand things over to the Holy Spirit, or for me, this came out of her teachings of the inner Ramana, that when I ask that part of the self to remind me when to practice, it does. Like, do the mantra now, or practice the lesson now. And when you hear that prompt, that's a choice point. And when you hear that prompt, the ego will say, okay, thank you, I'll do it later. But that's the point where it takes a moment to say, who's in charge in this moment, which is what this lesson is. Am I handing this moment over to him who knows, or the part of the self that feels separate? Or this teaching came from Inna Ramana, so the teaching was specifically, practice now, and she was being asked to practice the mantra, I am that I am. But if we ask for help in remembering to practice, we will be prompted to practice, and it really only takes a second or a heartbeat or a pause, right? And then the next part of the teaching, which again, it's Regina in my space. She said, the more the more you say yes to the practice, the more you will be invited to practice. It's a snowball effect. And the final point of that is the only way forward in this work is to be fully present in the moment where you are. So the spiritual ego has no control over you if you accept that in this moment I'm feeling troubled, and you may tell me everything's God, but I ain't feeling it now. And when you can be really, really, people around in this space will often hear me say, I have a confession, right? And then I'll talk about whatever is troubling the Cindy personality, but not from a personal space anymore, because I have come to recognize that the moment I speak it in our space, especially, it starts to dissolve. Because really the only thing that ever creates suffering in our space is that which we believe keeps us separate and what we choose to hide, which is kind of ridiculous, because if God is all there is, where exactly are we going to hide anything from God? It's more like if we're saying, oh, I'm shamed, I can't let anybody know how awful or guilty I feel. What you're really admitting, what I'm learning is, God, give me more of this experience of guilt, because I obviously want more of it. That's why I'm hoarding it, as opposed to allowing it to express into this space. Michelle turned her video on. How exciting. You will be our final word, I think.
Well, I just will make it very fast. I just want to say hello to all of you. And every single one of your shares was so, so profound and powerful. It just completely expanded my heart. And I want to thank you all, each and every one. And I'm reminded consistently through your energy, through this energy, to be gentle with ourselves and have fun. You all are so much fun, and so just all love. And so I thank you, and I love you.
Love us. Love us. So I guess I have the final word, because the other part of this is really, I was talking to someone else. And if you've noticed, even though the creation of an open door may have come through my hands, it's not mine, it's ours. And it's got an organic structure and a growth to it. And I'm really grateful. There's this recognition that more and more we've created this container, A, that feels like it can grow now, which is beautiful. And B, is enhanced by each one of us, but there isn't an individual separate from the whole that is required. If that makes sense. It's a dance. It's spirits. And man, I love us so much. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna turn the recorder off.